Excellent climate action movement, though late, has started, and the NDC 2.0 is round the corner. It's 2030. By 2030, South Korea requires, for example, around 50 million tons of emission reductions. That is their estimate, which is likely to increase. Japan, you said, requires around 200 million, 100 million, 100 million, likely to increase. So you have Singapore and already having a tax regime. So it will be a significant demand, but India also cannot transfer every emission reduction outside, because India has to do its own climate action and show it to the UNFCCC in 2030 or just next to 2030 that look, I am meeting my NDCs. My GDP intensity is decreased from 2005 level by 45%. I am told that in the last few years it has slowed down in its decrease. So we need to do much more to reach that 45% decrement. So only if you are confident that I am going to be there, then beyond that, whatever action that I do, I will transfer it outside the country. So it's a wonderful moment for all of us, okay, who are interested in climate action. Many of you have already started your journeys towards net zero, and in that process of net zero, you have started taking very, very deep action. Some of that action may contribute towards the NDC, but some action which really has a real viability gap. Okay, it's very difficult to make investments. Okay, that is the time when the JCM and any other cooperation mechanism under Article 6, okay, will be of help to us. We can sort of bridge that viability gap, and India has an advantage because you bridge that viability gap, and because they bridge the viability gap, you will transfer the credits for 10 years or some number of years. But after that, the project will survive in India, and that project which will survive in India will contribute to emission reductions of India and its own NDCs going beyond. So that is how India is actually going to pan its way towards its net zero. So it will do whatever it can do, okay, with a little cost, but if it happens to be very high cost, okay, it will use the Article 6, get the investment into the country, do it, okay, and transfer the credits only during the crediting period, not forever, only during the crediting period. After the crediting period is over, those emission reductions, those projects will operate in India. They provide essential infrastructure, okay, for India to decarbonize itself and to reach its net zero. For example, one of the categories that the government of India notified is a energy storage project, and in our state, okay, about 200 kilometers away from here, in Singapore, you have about 1680 megawatt of energy storage project, largest in the world, okay, is built, and it is just about to be operationalized, and that will significantly add to the energy storage capacity of India, and also will add to the decarbonization of India's energy sector and also much of the industry. And like that, a number of activities. This activity that I am talking about is taken by a company of where I work, Greenco, but there are a number of other actions that are being taken by many other companies in India, and India is actually taking a very accelerated role towards the net zero. Okay, you would learn during this phase of this conference that we are taking very, very big actions. All these actions that are announced by our business, all this ambition that is shown and readiness that was shown by our governments, both in the center and in the state, okay, all will come to some slippage, okay, if the Article 6 and the international community does not come forward in support as it was promised under the Paris Agreement. That is very, very important. For us, Paris Agreement happened in 2015. We as a country, we as business trusted the Paris Agreement. We took business decisions based on the Paris Agreement, the mechanisms that it promised. So all that needs to be delivered. So at Belém in Brazil, we are going to have NDC 3.0, because whatever the globe is doing is not enough to mitigate the global warming. So we are going to upscale, take it upwards, the NDC 3.0, not only India, all of us. Japan must be having its own plan for NDC 3.0, which will be much higher than NDC, significantly higher than NDC 2.0. Europe is going to do promise to do much more, okay, in NDC 3.0. All this action actually will create a larger market for the cooperation mechanisms. And as you clearly said, that now you require 100 million, going forward you require, by 2040 you require 200 million. Similarly, Europe will require possibly significantly larger number, okay. So the cooperation mechanisms, okay, for financing the action and technology that is required and the expertise that is required to take the climate action and for India to travel towards the net zero as promised by 2017, okay, will happen through this mechanism of Article 6. This climate conclave is happening today, okay, at this juncture, okay, a few weeks after signing the memorandum of understanding, first bilateral agreement signed by Japan. I should really thank the persistence that the Japan has shown. It is not just about Japan. The way they pursued, it happened today. That also opened the door. Once it happened with Japan, it can happen with Singapore, it can happen with South Korea, it can happen with Sweden. So it's a lot of, see, unless otherwise, countries like India, unless otherwise the industrial projects, industry and the business of India takes climate action, I think the kind of requirement to meet the NDC 2.0 by 2030 that the Japan has, that the South Korea has, that the Singapore has, cannot be met. It's very, very difficult to meet unless otherwise the energy transition project supply the credits in millions. So I am sure JCM is now ready to sign the checks of billions, not millions. Continue to sign the checks of billions, but not in tens of millions, possibly hundreds of millions. So the India requires that and Indian action requires that. So we look forward to a very, very exciting time after, and there are excellent experts, you know, so many of them have been with India for a very long period. Okay, they have been in the carbon market for a long period. JCM brings excellent knowledge, and in India you will see that every second corner you have a consultant who has played a very, very critical role in CDM. Okay, otherwise some of them played the VCS market, and our business understands how to do emission reduction projects, how to register them, etc., etc. Of course, Article 6 is different. The play is different, the structure is different, the framework is different now. We have to think differently and go forward. I tried to sort of this Thanksgiving session. Okay, I tried to extend as much as possible. Are we expecting the minister now, or can we go for the second session?